lives.
Yeah. Yeah. He is controversial, I would say, though, like, because he really, really stands his ground on what he believes in.
Yep.
And his stuff is very science based.
Yeah.
And so, we love science, and a lot of what we preach is the science, but also clinical experience. And I will say that I don't know if I necessarily agree with him on every single thing that he talks about, but he's extremely intelligent.
Yeah.
So
Did it make you want to start 75 Hard again?
somewhat, but like, here's the hard thing that I really struggle with sometimes is, and I'm part of the 75 Hard Facebook group, and so like people in there are kind of crazy, but
Real crazy. Real crazy. Some of them are also really mean.
really mean.
Like, do you remember that post when we were doing 75 Hard? The guy posted that he was doing a haul for wood and like had his weight vest on. And basically everybody was telling him that doesn't count as a workout because you're doing an errand for yourself.
Yeah. There was a girl that went in and posted, I saw recently, she posted that she completed 75. She's like, I know I didn't technically complete 75 Hard, but I did do all of the things. The only thing that I changed was that I didn't want to move my Peloton bike outside because it's expensive. I wanted to get better at cycling. That was my goal. And she even said in the post, she's like, I know it was not 75 Hard. This first comment was like, yeah, you didn't complete the thing. It's supposed to be uncomfortable. It's supposed to be things you don't want to do. And everyone else luckily was like, great job. You obviously saw a lot of improvement. But anyway.
The person's just mad because they were out in the elements and she was in her basement.
And she said that it was like half of the outdoor workout she did as that instead of outdoor. But either way, the one thing that I have struggled with, and again, this is probably me creating some justifications and some quote unquote excuses, but like a lot of the people that we hear on that podcast or just in general don't have multiple children, are not trying to run a business, don't have that, like, it's tough.
I would say they've built their business. They're in a different phase, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Also, guys, sorry for my voice. I lost my voice last weekend and it's just progressively gotten worse. It's coming back now, but anyways. So yeah, I think they're just in a different phase of life, a different phase of business. When you're in the growth phases and obviously with little kids, they need you. I was telling Becca before we started the podcast that Marcus is in a phase right now that he doesn't want to go to school ever, according to what he said yesterday. But then he gets there and he's fine.
Yeah.
But we're in the phase, and I remember you going through this with Carson and I didn't understand. So it's cool because I always have you to tell me like what's coming, and then I get there and I'm like, now I see what she was talking about.
Yeah.
Because it's shit.
I know. It's so hard. And it's, and that was something that I was on the way over this morning to your house. I was like driving by BMO Harris Bank and Aldi and a lot of those like larger, not headquarters, but like locations. And I was thinking, thank goodness I don't have to go to a job like that anymore. Because for me, I didn't have a passion with that. And I think that we've found our passion. I'm so excited every single day to continue learning and continue helping people. And it fuels such a fire. But then the other piece of me was thinking, because what Andy Frisella was talking about on his podcast today was how in today's society, raising children has become very different. Like, and I think about sometimes, I do put Carson in front of the TV so I can finish work at night, or, and he's been at school all day and then I'm not. And so coming over here, I was having some very internal like struggles and things that I'm like, I need to be more present. And the hardest part is during my work day, sometimes I don't finish all of my work. But
I think you have to recognize most people who are high achievers don't finish their work. Like I know my sister-in-law, I've shared with you, she's high up in Kroger. And obviously with the buyout now of Aldi, like it's going to look totally different. They have a nanny, like she wasn't home. So it's a give and a take, right? Because if you are at a 9 to 5 air quote here, right, you're most of the time bringing the work home with you if you're in a CEO level position or above, And then I think the other piece that I've often been thinking about, and we've had some conversations with some moms, Becca and I keep this podcast pretty neutral ground, but I will say very firmly what's going on is not okay with me. And I know Becca feels the same way in terms of things that have been added to the schedules, that we feel 15 people get to dictate the fate of our kids.
Children's lives,
Yeah. And so thinking about that, forward thinking of we have the opportunity, if we needed to figure it, we would figure it out to homeschool them, to keep them protected from also just some of the immoral things, I would say, that are coming down the pipeline of, in school. And so it's a blessing and a curse and a lot of,
Yeah, absolutely. But I think for me, it was like, either I'm not present with the kids because I'm working and having Nick like watch them at night, or I'm trying to watch them while I'm working, or I'm not present with Nick because once they go down, then I'm worried. Like, and it's been a big thing that I've been working to try and figure out on my own. And it's, schedule management, taking on too much per usual as a mom. But I really, really want to do a better job of, because I want to teach Carson sports and I want to teach, help him learn those things and not just leave it up to school. His daycare is amazing. They do a great job with him, but like, that's my job, and Nick's job. And so anyways, guys, those are my, internal battles that I've been having this morning,
I think all of us have those, right? Because, even for us, like with what we've been doing around the house, like oftentimes we'll be working on the weekends because, for example, Friday I finished a big project, went outside to help Art, and then that meant that I had to edit podcasts, before Monday at some point in time over the weekend. And so there's always, something that we're going to feel guilty about. It's funny, I haven't told you this yet, but a lady that just signed up with us, she was like, can I just tell you something before we get off the call? She's like, I'm so excited to work with you and Becca. But she's like, thank you so much for talking about your family life and mom life. And she's like, my kids are older, they're in their teen years, but it's really cool to just know that everything that I felt then, like moms still feel. And it's a hard balance. It's a hard balance, I think, for anybody. I mean, I also have friends and a couple potential clients that are coming on board with us that are managing a lot and they're not working. I mean, they are working 24/7 because they're the home, maker and taking care of their kids and transporting them to and from all the sports. And then when I'm sick, it doesn't matter. I still have to take care of them because dad's at work and stuff. So it's just a constant battle. So if you guys are out there today feeling like you feel it, you feel the mom guilt, you're ready to fight and battle for your kids, just know that we're with you.
Yeah.
We will stand with you.
Mamas will save this world, y'all.
Okay, so let's talk about this Friday fire, the hard truth.
And and I think that this feeds really well because I think a lot of people put this added stress on them when it's not supposed to be that, and like we were saying, we were listening to a podcast, and what Lane Norton was discussing was that when he started his powerlifting journey, he basically told himself, I'm going to give myself 10 years. I'm going to give myself 10 years to accomplish this goal. I think it was like making it to nationals and winning the worlds essentially. But the biggest thing is that he said he never expected that goal. He was going to take that time to work towards it, but he never expected it. Like it was never if I don't reach this in 3 years, or if I don't make this accomplishment in 5 years, then screw it, I'm giving up because it's not worth it. No, he knew that in that amount of time of working towards that, he was going to grow so much beyond where he was starting that journey. And I think the hardest part is that so many of us live in this immediate gratification society, all of us, obviously. And our basic nature is to have high expectations regardless of our abilities to achieve that success. And this affects your execution. This turns into, I think, what a lot of people, and I've heard this come out of people's mouth before, of like, what's the point of working if this is not going to work? What's the point of trying anything if what I feel is not working? Like my expectations are not being met. I've lost 10 pounds, but I haven't lost 25, which is what I expected to lose by this time. I'm sleeping better, but the scale is not moving. Like there's so many of these expectations that we hold on to so hard that they ruin the experience. And they ultimately, in a lot of cases, ruin your ability to get to where you want to be because you stress yourself out. You create a very non-healing environment, and then you never actually get to where you want to be because you give up before you were able to gain traction or essentially reach maybe that goal or close to that goal that you had originally created for yourself.
Yeah. And I think, in this podcast, they're talking about what if you're on the brink? What if you're on the brink of one more day in the gym, you would have hit that PR, or one more in powerlifting meet, he would have won the world and he did. One more year in business and you would have become a millionaire. And so Andy Frisella, he's talked about this, and I've shared this on our podcast before in terms of like a weight loss, for example, right? So he was stalled out all throughout his, I think second or third attempt at 75 hard, not attempt, but completion of 75 hard. He was stalled out for like 40 some days. And on day 76, he had planned to go to a big party. He owns, a tequila company. I've never tried a tequila. I want to try. And they were having a party. And so he planned to go and drink, but then he saw somebody who had completed 75 hard who was disabled essentially. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to keep going. And like 2 days later, he dropped like 4 or 5 pounds on the scale, finally broke that plateau. And so he talks in this recent podcast about, 10 years, they were having a discussion around what do we do because we're broke. We haven't made any money. Do we keep going with this? What is going to be our game plan if we're going to quit? What's my alternative, basically? And so he was talking about how he was going to go clean carpets, and they decided to give it one more year, and they shifted their purpose and their intent with their business. And then that's when, First Form evolved and thing became, really, really big. And so what we want to drive home today is you could be on the brink of greatness. You could be on the brink of, you've worked hard at changing your food quality. You've worked hard at getting your water in. Maybe you're doing walks. Maybe you're, supporting your body with more non-toxic products than you were in the past. Maybe you are going to the gym now. Maybe you're doing a lot of things and your body's kind of been stubborn. You could be on the brink of 2 to 3 weeks from now feeling like that cloud finally lifts. And one of the things that, I've said this before, and Becca and I have had a lot of conversations, and it's really hard to quantify because every human body is such a bio individual. We're so unique in our own way. But stress, we don't want to gain the weight if we eat the ice cream or the cookies or drink the alcohol, right? We want to wake up and feel good and not have to pay the price to have those things. You don't put on 10 pounds in 2 weeks. The same way that you're not going to drop 10 pounds in 2 weeks. It's going to take a lot for a lot of people. Yeah, you see all of the fads out there and, maybe these detoxes or ones what worked, when you were 20 no longer works when you're 45 or 50 or maybe even 35 or 40. And we get so mad and resentful of the process. Like you throw your hands up and you're like, well, F it. What's the point? If this isn't, going to be fast enough, what's the point in me continuing to try? And our point today is stop expecting that it's going to be quick. You don't want it to come on quick. Don't expect it to come off quick. That's just the reality of it. But the stress compiles. We just have another interview that's coming out next week where, we talked with one of our other practitioners in the space, and she shares her story about her mast cell journey. And we talk about stress and understanding that stress compiles. We are so resilient as human beings to so much stress in our life, whether it's emotional, physical, toxic, I would say relationships, people that you surround yourself with. There is so much stress that we take on every day, and your body is only resilient to a certain point before it breaks. And here we start to see disease, on the rise. You have joint pain, you have brain fog, you have fatigue. And so whatever it is that you're doing right now, what I would ask you to do is ask yourself, what is your alternative? If you don't continue working on your health, working on your mental health, working on your spiritual health, right? Working on all aspects of bettering yourself, what is the alternative?
Yeah. And the thing is that you don't have a choice in the results. You have a choice in your actions. You don't get to pick the results, unfortunately, but you can control what you're doing to get there. And that is the power that you need to grab hold of and take advantage of. Because I think so many people want to be guaranteed results. Before I even start, tell me that it's going to work. Before I even begin, tell me that you're going to get me X, Y, and Z. And you guys, I'm sorry, but that is just impossible. And anyone that tells you otherwise is lying straight to your face, because you cannot guarantee how a body is going to respond. You cannot guarantee that the people have the dysfunction that you think that they might have, or that tests are even showing that they have, especially like Liz was saying, if you are not willing to work on the mental aspect and the stress side of this. A big part of what we talked with our practitioner friend about was the number one piece that she actually starts with people that have mast cell activation syndrome is neuroplasticity training. That is basically retraining your mind. That is retraining your mind because of the trauma responses we have. We all have trauma. It doesn't matter. Yes, to relative differences for sure, but we all have trauma in our past. And you have created certain neural signaling because of that trauma that probably limits you from things right now. And unfortunately, a lot of people, like I talked about earlier, we are in a world that's instant gratification. That's you can go and have this without any or little effort. And unfortunately, you need to be aware of things and beware of things that have a high dopamine response with minimal to little effort. Those are not good. What I'm talking about, going and getting fast food, eating calorie-dense foods, very little effort to get them. You didn't have to hunt for that food. You didn't have to cook that food. Drinking the glass of wine, huge dopamine response. Drugs, huge dopamine response, very little effort. What's an alternative? Exercising to get a dopamine response. There is an uncomfortable piece. There is a challenging piece. You get the reward from it. Weight loss by restriction, restricting yourself creates a dopamine response, just like eating whatever the F you want creates a dopamine response. But guess which one is healthier? The one of restriction. It can create a very similar one, but it creates a lot healthier habits long-term. And so we need to watch what we're doing. Like, yes, do I wish that I could take some supplement and it solve all of my fatigue problems or all of my gut problems or whatever it is? Of course I do. That's not the reality of life though. Even if you saw some ridiculous transformation or story on Instagram, like there's a deeper story behind it. I promise you. Like, I think I saw something the other day that was a gut flush and the girl was talking and she was like, I've lost 20 pounds in 3 weeks. Could that potentially happen? Absolutely. But here's what you probably don't see. On the other side of that gut flush, what she's going to have to do to maintain that, what she's going to have to change about her lifestyle. Like when we go to heal a gut based off of testing, based off of symptoms, we are looking at rebuilding a foundation, rebuilding an ecosystem that is your body because it has become dysfunctional. And that requires change. That doesn't require taking some supplement for 60 to 90 days. That requires like you foundationally changing what you're doing because you need to create change for the ecosystem. And if you take these supplements, but then go back to eating whatever the F you're eating prior, guess what? Nothing's going to stick. You might feel better for a couple months, but it's going to come back because you are catering to a certain ecosystem. And so we need to be aware of what you are doing that is causing instant gratification that you didn't have to work for. And that probably brings, guilt, shame, feeling worse after the fact.
Yeah. I want to know what was in the gut flush.
Like, I know. I've been
how many strands of, like, let's say like fiber sources or colon cleanse ingredients are in that gut flush that she just went to the bathroom a ton. And where was she at before, right? If she is coming from a standard American diet to, okay, this is a super strict anti-inflammatory, all gluten is out, all dairy is out, all soy, all alcohol, all sugar, all of those things. Of course, she's going to drop that in a short amount of time. And so there's so many things that you don't see behind the scenes. And I wanted to just bring this up because in terms of one of the testimonials that I just shared in our Facebook group, as well as on my social media, was a friend of mine that came to me and she's like, I'm trying to do all of the things on my own, but things aren't working. I need your help. And so I'm like, okay, let's start talking about what's going on. Me being the practitioner that I am, I'm like, girlfriend, we had a lot of things to work on health-wise before we can look at weight loss for you. Your cholesterol's through the roof. You're on a statin. You're on a PPI. Giving her the education about those things. She's eating a vegetarian diet, very low protein at that point in time, a lot of carbohydrates and fat and things like that. And so there was a lot of work that went in on her part just to shift her food. But then we had to look at how do we support her gut? How do we support her liver, right? And so what people see on the front is a 25-pound loss and she looks fantastic. It took her 7 months to do that. My question to most people is, would you be willing to put in the work for 7 months if you were losing whatever, 20,
half a pound here or there?
Yeah. Do the math on that. I haven't done the math. So it's so easy for people to be like, that's not fast enough. I'm going to quit. It's so easy for you to say, this isn't working. I got to find something else. So easy for people to see an Instagram ad and be like, oh, there's another supplement. I'm going to try that. But you're not willing to do the work foundationally and you're not willing to be consistent. And I think people far underestimate the value of good quality food, being consistent, getting to the root cause too. A lot of what we do, and we're going to talk about this on Monday's podcast, is getting to the root cause. If we have dysfunction in the body, the question becomes why. We may never know what fully triggered it, but what we can do is we can get to the root cause. We can work on fixing that long-term, not with a Band-Aid solution, right? And then we can move forward. And then it makes things a lot easier on the other side. The healing process is not always fun. It's not always easy. It's not always fast. But on the other side, when you ask yourself, if I gave it, let's even say a year or 2 years, if you're somebody who's really, really sick, would it be worth it? And I think the answer is yes. I know the answer is yes because Becca and I have both been there. And what's better for me today than that year that kind of sucked, giving up a lot of things to go through a gut healing protocol, is that my energy is good. I've lost the 50 pounds. I've kept it off. My strength is good. I don't have a lot of the food intolerances or sensitivities that I had before to all kinds of things, including eggs and nuts and Greek yogurt and even some of the healthiest things that I was eating at that time. And I go to the bathroom every day. The constipation and the fatigue and the joint pain that I had then because I wasn't going to the bathroom was horrible. And I would wish that on no one. So if you're in that space today, what we're going to challenge you with is like, life shouldn't be easy. This isn't going to be easy, but you have to be willing to commit. And if you're willing to commit and you stop putting timelines on things, it's going to get a lot easier.
I never, like, anytime I go into anything, it's never out of expectations. Like, if I'm going to compete or train to compete or make it for a competition, I never go into it being like, if I don't make the competition, I'm giving up because this is stupid. It's like, okay, I actually really enjoy the mental challenge and the physical challenge of training. That is why I do it. It is not to go win some competition or medal or whatever it is. It is because I know it makes me a better person. It makes me stronger mentally, emotionally, physically. And that's what I do it for. And the same thing with healing journeys. Like Liz and I are both on new healing journeys that with new testing that we got, we both are working on things. I have zero expectations of like, honestly, what's going to happen and the timeline it's going to happen in. I mean, like, I'm doing things purposefully, obviously, to work on my liver health, which was a main thing for me, and then to work on my gut microbiome because due to the high intensity training that I've done for so long, I have very low levels of good bacteria. I have a couple overgrowths and I have very low immune system function within the gut. And so I'm working on rebuilding that. Here's the thing. I'm not giving up my high intensity training completely right now. I've catered back a little bit. And so it could take 4, 6, 8, 12 months. The parasite that I showed high on has been shown to take 12 months to eradicate. So I'm doing cycling of protocols with the liver. I'm doing coffee enemas multiple times a week. I'm doing all types of, green support, sulforaphane support to help detoxification pathways. But with all of that, all I'm focusing on is the little wins. Because so far, I have better energy. My sleep has gotten immensely better. Like, I didn't have horrible sleep before, but now I'm sleeping through the night almost every night unless Taylor wakes up, and I feel much more rested. My energy throughout the day is better. My workouts are going well. I'm maintaining at a lower weight than I normally maintain at. Like, there's a lot of things, but it's been 8 weeks already. And it's, it didn't happen within the first 2 to 4 weeks. It's been slow, gradual, and I've looked at each little thing versus why isn't the scale moving? Why isn't the scale moving? Why don't I feel 1,000 times better? Why isn't my body completely transformed? Like, I'm taking the little things, and the effort I'm putting into it is gratifying in and of itself. And that's where I think we need to look more is like, if you're unhappy and you're looking for that instant gratification, ask yourself, what are you doing that is causing that, like, I need things right away? Is it the alcohol? Is it the sugar? Is it the, sleeping in instead of doing the workout? Because I guarantee if you start doing a little bit of restriction or doing the hard things or the uncomfortable things, just accomplishing those simply in and of itself is a gratification enough to create momentum. Like during 75 hard, I felt amazing mentally and emotionally. I was so proud of myself every single day for finishing the tasks. I didn't get to reward myself with food or alcohol, nor did I really want to because how good I felt from doing the hard things every day and figuring it out. And so to anyone that is struggling, Andy Frisell talked about this, like anxiety. He's like, anxiety is driven because all you focus on is the negative. All you think about is all the poor things or horrible things that could go wrong. Instead of trying to just act. And stop dwelling on all of the possible scenarios that you think about that could go wrong.
And I would also just challenge you to think about everything that your body does for you. And when the last time was that you didn't just hate on it repeatedly. Like look in the mirror and not like what you see. You lay your head on a pillow at night and like, man, I beat myself up because damn cravings again. I gave him, went through the Starbucks drive-thru or whatever. Right? Like I suck. Like a lot of people have these internal dialogues. And my question would be when was the last time that you really loved and appreciated your body for everything it does for you? It gives you life. It's your vessel, literally that carries you through life to eat, breathe, spend time with your family, travel, all of these things. We talk about this a lot in terms of, our 3 pillars of success. And I think so many people would be in a much better spot if they would allow themselves to be just thankful and proud. Thankful for their body and their capabilities and proud that they made a different choice today. And if you mess up tomorrow, you mess up. But today is a day or tomorrow is a new day, right? Whatever, however you want to spend that, And I think so many people could be in a better physical space if they had that mental space that was, a little bit more kind rather than just constantly beating, themselves down. And so, I think what you often have to think about is not just the moment that you're in, but where you want to be a year from now. And it's all these little things that you change day in and day out. Like imagine if you chose a salad as a side instead of fries for the next 365 days. That's 365 days of, let's say, 700 calories for a side of fries, roughly. Maybe it's 1,000 calories. That's a lot of calories. That's probably going to result in some sort of change. If you compile that with going for a 10-minute walk, okay, each day, 70 minutes a week, right? Times that by 52. These little things that you can do will compile as long as you're consistent. And I think so many people get so frustrated because they expect to make a handful of changes and see massive results, or years of unhealthy habits and behaviors and toxic overload undone in 30 days. That's not how it works. And so that's what we want, just to remind you guys of today is like, stop expecting things. And I would just leave you with that. It's like, start really loving on yourself and being thankful for the abilities that you have to make the choices to be healthier, to get outside, to go for a walk, to go to a gym, whatever it is that you have the ability to do. Drink clean, filtered water. A lot of people don't have these opportunities. And instead, people are just, I'm 5 pounds up. I'm mad. I'm mad at the scale. I'm mad at myself. This isn't working. I got to do something more extreme. I got to cut my calories less than 1,000. I got to cause more stress on my body. And if you guys listen to old episodes of Liz and Becca, we talked about metabolism at nauseum and how so many people chronically undereat, and that creates more stress. And if you would stop trying to do more of this restriction, more of the output, more of the, calorie deficit, whatever it is, and you would just focus on nourishing your body, listening to what it is that you actually need. We have many, many episodes you guys can go back and listen to on cravings. If it's sugar, if it's salt, what does that mean? What nutrients are you missing? How many calories do you typically need for you in the area of life that you're in? It's far more, I would say, than most people think. And so again, go back and listen to those episodes. There's a ton of education. There's a ton of information there. But if you're somebody who's in that place who's like, I'm trying all the things, nothing's working, my symptoms aren't improving, then we would say, you need to get some testing done. You need to look a little bit deeper at other things that you can change. If you want things to move faster, but you're not willing to do any other things, then stop complaining about the work you're not going to do.